First, let's start with this case. My boyfriend, 26 Mia, recently moved in with me, 29 Mef. We live in a house within a neighborhood governed by a homeowners association. The houses are fairly close together, about 20 to 30 feet apart, so it's easy to hear loud noises from one another. My boyfriend owns a Mustang, which is naturally pretty loud. He has to leave for work at 5 a.m., so he starts the car early to warm it up. While I can see how this might be annoying for the neighbors, one of our neighbors has the exact same car and starts it at 7 a.m. every morning. I've been dealing with that noise for almost 2 years without ever complaining. This morning, however, the neighbor decided he'd had enough. After my boyfriend started his car and came back inside for a moment, the neighbor came outside and screamed at our house at the top of his lungs. I couldn't make out what he said, but it was loud enough to wake me up. I went downstairs and we both stepped outside to find the neighbor storming up to our porch. He yelled about how early it was, how loud the car was, and how it wakes up his dogs. While I understand his frustration, the way he handled it was aggressive and unnecessary. My boyfriend, trying to de-escalate, agreed to start the car and leave right away from now on, rather than letting it idle. Part of me wants to report the neighbor to the homeowners association. I've never complained about the noise his car makes every morning at 7 a.m., even though it's been an annoyance for nearly 2 years. This isn't the first time I've dealt with his overly aggressive or emotional reactions to situations, and I feel his behavior crossed a line. There are no specific quiet hours in the homeowners association rules, but there is a nuisance clause. I looked up our local noise ordinance, which I didn't know about before, and it could technically apply here. My boyfriend's Mustang is stock. He didn't modify it to make it louder. He's been wanting to trade it in for a quieter truck anyway, and in the meantime, he's looking into ways to reduce the noise. Until then, he plans to start the car and leave immediately, as promised. So, am I wrong for wanting to report the neighbor to the homeowners association after his reaction? Or should I just let this go? Let's start judging. As someone who has a neighbor that warms up a giant truck in their driveway that just happens to be on the other side of the wall from my bedroom, at 5:30 a.m. every weekday, I empathize with this guy. You both have loud cars. You're both starting them early. The difference is, 7 a.m. is usually right at noise ordinance limits. 5 a.m. isn't. Most ICE vehicles don't need to be warmed up before driving. The car warms by the engine running, which is what happens while the car is running driving. Starting your car and letting it run in the driveway at that hour isn't needed. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, it's nicer to have a warm car to get into. And sure, you may need to defrost the windshield. But find a way to work with this guy. You both live there. Everyone sucks. I'm sure your other neighbors dislike both your cars just as much. He's just the only one screaming about it. You're in the wrong. I lived across the street from a loud truck that got started at 0448 every weekday for 2 months. He left within 30 seconds. I knew he was leaving for work. I hate loud cars. I hate loud pipes on motorcycles I ride. Where we were, we didn't have a homeowners association. I knew he was leaving for work because I politely asked. He needed to be at work by 7 and his site was 2 hours away. He apologized. Getting up, starting his car, and leaving promptly was the best he could do. Starting your car and leaving it running for a minute or two is obnoxious. Sorry, but there's a world of difference to waking people up at 5 a.m. versus 7 a.m. If there's a homeowners association, I wonder what the quiet hours are, because I think your BF would be outside of them. I think your neighbor should be reporting you to be. When I have to leave at 5 a.m., I absolutely do my best to not wake my neighbors. That's just what considerate people do. You're in the wrong because neither you or your BF think you're in the wrong, and you're just utterly obnoxious neighbors. If you woke me up every day at 5 a.m., I'd be exceptionally aggressive and angry towards you too. I fully understand where neighbor is coming from. At 7 a.m., most people are getting up for work or to get kids to school. So him doing it then is not remotely equivalent. It would kind of be like me playing death metal full volume at lunchtime compared to you playing it full volume at 1 a.m. Next up, I-24F reported my brother 21M today for selling counterfeit products on Facebook Marketplace. My brother has been unemployed for almost 2 years, isn't in school, and can't drive due to his epilepsy. He currently lives at home with our dad. Recently, he started buying duplicate versions of real products and listing them on Marketplace without clarifying that they aren't authentic. I told him twice that what he was doing was wrong and could get him into serious trouble. However, he didn't seem to take me seriously, so I decided to report his listings. When my dad found out, he was upset and told me, "Instead of arguing and trying to prove you're right, you should have taught and educated him." Turning him in was absolutely awful and wrong. It violates all trust. I would be furious if my sister did that to me instead of helping me out. He also added, "The damage is done now with Facebook and your relationship. Don't be surprised if he stops communicating with you." Now I'm getting backlash from my family, and I'm starting to second-guess my decision. My brother hasn't reached out to me, and I'm wondering if I crossed a line by reporting him, or if this was the teachable moment he needed to understand the seriousness of his actions. Am I wrong for taking this step, or was I justified in reporting him to prevent further harm? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. He was very purposefully screwing people over while also committing a crime. Nope, nope, nope. You're not in the wrong. Your brother's actions were illegal and unethical, and you already tried to address it directly. Reporting him was the right thing to do to protect others from being scammed, even if it upset your family. You're not in the wrong. Your brother is 21. There is nothing teachable about this. He should know better. And if he doesn't, your dad has failed or your brother has the deficient mental capacities. What your brother is a con man, and your dad is supportive of that. Next up, I'm Z, a 17-year-old guy, and I've struggled with self-image for years. The one thing that boosts my confidence is my hair. I know I'm not conventionally handsome or pretty, and I've made peace with that, but my hair is my way of expressing myself. I have black, curly, medium-length hair that reaches down to my chest, and I take really good care of it. My hair is something I take great pride in. Unfortunately, whenever I've gone to my mom's friend, a hairstylist she's known for over 30 years, she's always gone against my wishes and made my hair look ridiculous. I kept going to her out of obligation because of their long friendship, but it always left me upset. A couple of years ago, I decided to stop visiting her salon and started cutting my hair at home, which has worked much better for me. Today, I wanted to try a new hairstyle, one that works better for straight hair. I asked my mom if we could go to her friend's salon to straighten it and trim the dead ends. She agreed, and when we got there, everything seemed fine at first. The usual small talk about school and life. I showed her the style I wanted, and she said she could do it. I wanted to trust her, even though I had a bad gut feeling. I'm not a confrontational person and tend to avoid conflict, so I went along with it. However, when she finished, I saw my reflection and couldn't help but cry. My well-maintained hair was ruined with uneven, random chops, and it looked terrible. When I reacted, both she and my mom dismissed my feelings, saying, "It looks fine. You're overreacting as always." I didn't want to argue, so I grabbed my coat and left, waiting in the car while holding back tears. When my mom came out, she was furious and scolded me for embarrassing her in front of her friend after everything she's done for me. I couldn't hold it in anymore and said, "Your friend has done nothing but ruin my confidence all these years. She can't do her job. Every time she touches my hair, I have to go home and fix it myself just to feel okay stepping outside." This upset her, and she hasn't spoken to me since. I feel like I had every right to be upset, but now I'm questioning if I overreacted. Am I the wrong one here? Edit. To clarify, I didn't sob loudly in the salon. It was just the three of us, and I cried quietly before leaving without saying much. When I said I snapped, it wasn't in an angry or loud way. I just broke down and expressed my frustration to my mom. I've since apologized to her, and she apologized back, saying she regrets not standing up for me and forcing me to keep going to the same hairstylist despite knowing how upset it made me. Let's start judging. Gonna have to go. You're in the wrong on this one, friend. You literally requested this woman. With the express knowledge that she doesn't do your hair how you like, you don't get to do that. Then be upset that she doesn't do your hair the way you like, and you damn sure don't get to snap at your mom about it. I totally get loving your hair, and I love that you do. And you have a right to care about your appearance. But you need to learn some more effective communication skills, because your non-confrontational nature isn't actually avoiding confrontations. It's just making you bottle your emotions in the moment and then having them explode out on the wrong person. Apologize to your mom. Explain, using effective communication skills, that you would really like to find your own hairdresser, and if need be, will pay for it yourself. I would then recommend trying out a men's hairdresser. They will probably understand what you want and how to treat your hair. You're in the wrong. You know you don't like the way she cuts your hair, so you stop going and do at-home haircuts. Then out of the blue you decide, you know what would be a great idea? Going back to the lady who always messes up my haircut. Then you cry about the results. WTF did you expect? You're 17. Get control of your emotions. Stop letting them control you. Everyone sucks. In no particular order, you knew that this woman wasn't the stylist for you before you went in. You literally stopped going to her because she can't do her job. Stop going to her. At this point, going to her means it will turn out bad. And you know this. So this one's on you for not learning your lesson and going back to what wasn't meant for you and exploding on your mom and the hairdresser. Mom and hairdresser, HD. Overreacting as always, when the HD never got it right, is a reaction that you deserve some grace for. What you asked for is not what you got. As a HD, they should know not to speak like that to clients, no matter the relationship you may share. Her customer was not happy with service provided and they should have offered some solutions, or just said no to doing a style they weren't equipped to handle. Overall, I believe that you need to go speak with your mother and apologize. Mom, I apologize for embarrassing you in front of your friend and snapping on you in the car. I stopped going to HD 2 years ago because they never styled my hair the way I wanted it to look, despite showing pictures. And I should have known the case would be the same today. I realize the part that I played in this. Despite my reaction, I do love you, and I am sincerely sorry for my actions. Moving forward, I'll look for a new stylist so this doesn't happen again. Next up, I'm 31, and my husband is 36. We have 2 boys, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. My husband works in an office and has the option to work from home a few days a week, but he prefers not to because he finds it easier to focus in the office. I run a small business from home. It doesn't require a lot of daily work, just some emails and planning, about 3 hours a day, but it contributes about 1/3 of our household income. However, my younger son is home all day, and keeping up with him takes a lot of energy. He's very active and can get into trouble if left alone for too long. Then, my older son comes home at 3 p.m., and I'm responsible for both boys until 8 or 9 p.m., when my husband typically gets home. A few days ago, I was exhausted and didn't make dinner. When my husband came home, I asked if we could order takeout. He was also tired, and we were both short-tempered, which led to an argument. He said I should have at least ordered food before he got home because he was hungry. I replied that it's not fair that dinner is always my responsibility. He argued that since I'm home all day and don't have much work to do, I'm essentially a stay-at-home mom and should at least handle dinner. I countered that he has no idea how much I do every day, and he said he'd work from home for a day while also handling the kids to prove that it should be manageable. I agreed, and he made the arrangements to work from home yesterday. I took the opportunity to sleep in, and when I woke up, he was already frazzled from getting our older son ready for school. He had to cancel a meeting to make breakfast and was clearly stressed about it. Later, during another meeting, the boys went outside to play and got muddy. They tracked footprints all over the house, which he had to clean up while juggling his work responsibilities. I didn't step in to help, partly because I wanted him to experience what I deal with daily, and partly because I was waiting for an apology. By this point, I felt guilty because I could see how hard it was for him to manage everything. Still, all I really wanted was for him to admit he was wrong about assuming my day-to-day life is easy. He insisted he was doing this to show I didn't have much to handle, so I stayed out of it. Later in the day, during another meeting, he told the boys not to bother him for an hour. About 20 minutes in, they started arguing, and the younger one went into my husband's office to complain loudly. My husband told him to leave, but he wouldn't listen and ended up crying. It disrupted the meeting, and my husband had to pause to deal with him. Afterward, he apologized to the people in the meeting, but it was clear he was upset. When the meeting ended, he confronted me, saying I could see him struggling and chose not to help. I told him all he had to do was ask for help. He argued that I was being petty and prideful, and that my refusal to step in made him look bad in front of his manager. While I could see his frustration, I didn't think it was as big of a deal as he made it out to be. It was only a few minutes, and I believe the situation could have been avoided if he had just acknowledged how much I handle on a daily basis. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. And if I'm not reading the post completely wrong, they're your husband's kids as well. So not sure why point 1 is worded as it is with the, I didn't step in to help when my kids were disturbing him. He said he could handle it. He couldn't. That's on him. You're not in the wrong. He deserved a little comeuppance. If he doesn't come home until 8 to 9, you are basically a single mother working part-time while taking full care of 2 small children and maintaining an entire household with little to no help from him. You're allowed to occasionally be exhausted. He was an idiot for making you feel guilty about one dinner. He was an even bigger idiot to insinuate that what you do is no big deal. The icing on his idiot nonsense cake was claiming he could easily do it. Screw around and find out. With so many people working from home now, people obviously understand there's a slight possibility a kid will interrupt something. It was likely no big deal to his meeting, and he deserved it.